because we can all do the big campaigns. I've taught many of you with a great screening, a great Facebook campaign, a great reactivation campaign. You all kind of know how to do those, but the biggest win from this room is how do you make it consistent? And better yet, how do you make it this? I have got 15 minutes with you guys, and this section is fast and it is furious, okay? Now, we do this every single conference, and I'll do it for the rest of my life. And even when I'm preparing it, honestly, I'm like, oh, should I do it again? Are they going to want to hear it? Do they need it again? And then I had my first platinum class. And here's what I learned from my first platinum class. Is how many of you been with me? How many have been coaching with me for like close to 2 years? 2 years. Have a look in the room. Cool. 2 years. Okay. So it takes time, yes? And until we drag you in that room, on our call you're like, I have never implemented so much in the last quarter in my life off the back of platinum, right? Because we grabbed you in the room, and this is all we did. All we did for 2 days. For 2 days was one document. One I'm going to teach you now in 30 seconds. That's all we did for 2 days. So it takes time. Everyone say, it takes time. I've been implementing these structures in my business for like between 5 and 7 years, and I'm still not there. You guys understand? So it takes time. So I'm going to run through the fundamentals with you now, how we grow it in my group, and a couple things. There's 3 magic, if you will, flip charts. The first one is, whenever you come into my world, or any real guru, when it comes to, they're really good at helping. By guru, I mean someone who's really good at getting the best out of people. You understand? There is, the word educate comes from the Latin word to educe, okay, educare, and it means to draw out, not shove in, which means that I'm sitting in front of a group of people that all have genius within them. You guys understand, yes? I don't have to, you guys are well educated, I just need to point in the right direction, and my job is always to get you from a 0 to a 7 or 8 fast. I'm pretty good at that. You guys agree, yes? Hello? Cool. So here's what I'm going to ask you to play along with me. A couple of things you're going to need. Number one, if you're going to grow, everyone say, I want to grow. You're going to need some type of BD. BD stands for business development, right? Very undertaught in the chiropractic industry or healthcare industry. We are shit at this. We are bad at this. I was the lecturer. A funny story. In my university, we had one morning, which was business and jurisprudence. One morning, one lecture in 5 years on business. 3 hours on business. Did any of you guys have much more at your universities? Less. A little bit more. Whole course. A year? Over a year, yeah. So that's a lot better than a lot of universities. But you understand that business development is very, very important and we don't talk about it enough in chiropractic. It's like a bad word when we talk about money or numbers, and then you start getting things like, how many of you ever heard this from your team before? It's not like it used to. And you go, yeah, I know. Good. It means we're changing. Everyone say, we're changing. It's supposed to not be like it used to be, or else we're going to get the results that we used to. So it's supposed to be different. But then you've got to talk about the business has changed, the roles changed, so those are different conversations. But the first thing is BD. But honestly, the people that get the biggest growth and the mentors that get the biggest growth from their participants are the ones that have incorporated both BD and PD. Yeah, which is personal development. So again, everything I'm teaching here, I hope you can model in your own business. So I'm teaching to you as delegates that I'm hoping to get the best out of you, to bring out more of your genius. But I know if you want to achieve big things, raise your hand and say, I. You're also going to have to incorporate this in your business. You have to incorporate this in your business. In some ways, I've been a bit slack on this in Halsa in the last year or two because I'm quite non-operational now. And we are missing a bit of fluffy in Halsa, a little bit, you know. And unfortunately, I've got to get a little bit back in, etc. We've got a little bit more fluffy, and we've got some PD, and we've got to challenge things. You want the good news or the bad news? Okay. The good news is The good news and the bad news, really, same thing. If you go heavy on PD with any of your teams, some people will jump out the pot. That's the bad news. The good news is some people will jump out the... It's the good news and the bad news. If you go heavy on... You guys know that, hey? If you increase accountability, are your team going to like it? No, almost no one likes, including me. Almost nobody likes accountability. Even no one wants to be measured all the time. And that's when you hear things like, oh, it's all about the numbers or the money. But it's not all about that. It's just one fraction of the business in that if anything wants to improve, if you want anything to improve, you have to measure it. It's not about that. It's just, that's just the path to improvement. It's not the only path to improvement, but certainly BD and PD. Okay, next, I've got a little, this is how, when I first set out this, going into consulting and coaching, if you will, I drew out this diagram. And it's like a bastardization of some of the people that I've worked with, and they had something very similar to this. But I thought about in the chiropractic context or in practice context, and then I really thought about it's really every single business. So in some way, shape, or form, you've got these different areas in your business that you've got to focus on. Again, a lot of it you'll see comes from some personal development. But number one, if you want to grow a business in some way, shape, or form, and this is in your notes, by the way, page number 11, you have to have some type of, what's the M stand for? Yeah, marketing. Like there has to be a marketing element to your business. I'll probably help you the most here. It's less about the 100 new patient campaigns and more about the consistency. This is where I think most of the group are. How do we build in systems and structures to help us with consistency? Because we can all do the big campaigns. I've taught many of you it's a great screening, a great Facebook campaign, a great reactivation campaign. You all kind of know how to do those, but the biggest win from this room is how do you make it consistent? And better yet, how do you make it this? How do you make it that? It stands for done without me. How do you make it done without me? How do you make it done? I like to say, for me, a big litmus test. Am I going to do something? Should I do this thing? I've got multiple businesses, right? So now my biggest discipline is to say no. There's loads of opportunities for everyone in this room. Now my biggest discipline is like, no, like I've got loads of opportunities, but like I love what I do here. I make great money with what I do here, and I've got scale and I can keep growing. Great, let's keep doing this, right? Don't get you the shiny object syndrome. So now I often ask this, unless it's an opportunity that presents itself like this, done without Ryan. If it's an opportunity where it's like, oh, this is a DWR. Oh, okay, I might be interested in this. Like, but how much? And they always overplay it, by the way. Like, how much is done without you? But if it's a DWR, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll consider it. If it's done with Ryan, actually, it could be both. Eh? If it's done with Ryan, I'm like, oh, well, I don't have much more capacity because I've got 2 young kids, I've got a family, I've got 3 businesses, and like that's just about all I can handle right now. And my recent coach I'm working with is really helping me. How do I continue on the path that I am with not much extra work? How many of you like to make a lot more money with not much extra work? Raise your hand and say, me. That's where I'm at, right? So I'm doing well. I don't need to. Has anyone read Power versus Force in this room? Yeah, so like the difference between power is being able to choose. Everyone say, choice is good. Force is like, I'm pushing all the time. I've got a love-hate relationship with this room, and many of you will have that because you're good pushers. You're good at driving. Everyone say, I'm a driver. I say, I'm a leader. You're good at it, You're good at going, hey, come on, we need the screening, we need it, But how do you make it more balanced so it's coming from a point of power, not force? Because if it's all force, how many of you have ever felt tired before in practice? Yeah, it's like force. I'm teaching you a piece tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's piece, I really, really prepped a lot for tomorrow's morning's piece because it's about how to, I don't want to say remove yourself from the business, but how to operate more in power. and it's got everything to do with my next slide, or my next thing I'm going to write down. If you're going to be successful, you absolutely need a team. You need a team. And we get lulled into this, I can't stand it. Some of the Facebook groups where I see, and I'm shameless of this, I am going to go for them. I won't mention names. But the idea that you can run a practice with just you, a box on the wall, no CA, no phone, that people just come, no timings, etc. It's not that you can't make it work, but look at the individual making it work. They may be a very, very, very special individual. And you know what I think? I'm not special. I'm bang average. So for me to make a business work on bang average, I need good structure and good systems. You guys understand, yes? That model that they're trying to sell you is on a star. I'm like, no, I'm not a star. I'm just, you guys understand the concept behind that, yes? I'm not saying talk yourself down. I'm saying if I have to run this as if I'm not a star, as if I'm not that talented, how would I run this business? Oh, it'd be different. I'd have to have team members here. I'd have to rely on structure. I'd rely on cadences. I certainly can't stand up there as the star and just magically make it work. Does that make sense? Yes? So if you're going to grow, you're going to have to need a team in some way, shape, or form. Virtual attendees, does that make sense? Give me a wave. Gabby, Peter, cool. You need a team in some way, shape, or form. Also, you need some type of thought about sales. Sales. The single biggest seat we do not have in a chiropractic business is a sales seat. So if you look at your org chart, we've got marketing. Every org chart should have a marketing, it should have accounting, it should have a sales seat. This was a big wake-up call for me. I was like, shit, because I went through the same systems that you're going through, right? Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, Gino Wickman's Traction, Dan Sullivan's stuff, and they all showed that there was always a sales seat. There was always a sales seat. I was like, oh, it's not applicable. What's the first sentence I told you guys about? That won't work in my business. Oh, but that's not applicable in my business. We don't need a sales seat. I was like, shit, actually, like, if all the best businesses on the planet have a sales seat, like, what? And they're much smarter than me, then I should stop thinking so much and organize a sales seat. And it's both the most money I've lost and the most money I've made in the last quarter. Ben, who's now overseeing the marketing in Hulsa together with Dan, will tell you that the last quarter is all about having two dedicated salespeople on the phones. And we are now getting our lead to booking time, so our lead to booking stat at our scale, by the way, hundreds a week, is now at like close to 70%. I think the last one was 67%. That's like super high for us. 67%. I say that at scale, that's like 200 to 300 leads a week. So let me ask you this. How many of you in the room, and this is important that you put your hand up if you're not there, how many of you are not, either you don't know the number or you're not at close to 70% from lead to booking yet? Raise your hands. Cool. Everyone go like this? Go like this? Go cha-ching. You are going to make so much money from this weekend. You're done. You could close, you could don't leave. But you could leave right now, and I promise you, you could easily add your inner circle fees paid for the next 10 years. Literally. But your growth comes from that one seat. Who's recently hired a sales seat or a telemarketing seat? Yeah? Or you have someone in the room that does it, yes? And then where's Wendy? Wendy, you've just done it. Wendy McLeod, you just hired a sales seat. We just hired 2 or 3 in our business. Is that someone's dedicated job to bang out the phones, bang out the leads, and he has an inconvenient truth for you. All the admin you think is happening at the front desk, it's not happening. You guys think the reminder calls are happening at the front desk? So the team members they are right. Okay. Let me ask this a different question. If it takes 7 to 10 phone calls for the average lead to be contacted, is each person getting phoned 7 to 10 times? Almost impossible. It's not a knock at the people at the front desk. It's a knock at, I have seldom seen admin sufficiently done just at the front desk at the same time if you don't dedicate the time for it in the business. So I'm actually fighting in your corner here. You understand that either it's a person or we need some admin shifts. You guys understand? I've seldom, if ever, seen those done. Some of you might have it down, and you might have some very efficient people in the business. But guess what? Here's another inconvenient truth. Everybody leaves. Everybody leaves. Everybody leaves. So if you're relying on a star in your business, that's a single failure point. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. And we talk about it in our business. Like the last quarterly, you can ask my team. We went, who did we speak about? We spoke about one thing that has to happen regularly in my consulting business, and one person is doing 90% of it and has been doing 90% of it for a while, which means the rest of the team members are not learning it. And we spoke about the court, and I was like, that's great, you're doing a great job, but you are a single failure point in my business, and you're going to leave one day. I love you, I don't want you to leave, but guess what? You're probably going to leave one day. You know? You're probably going to leave one day, and that's cool. Like, my job is to do everything in my power to keep you, but then my job is also to set you free if I've helped you grow enough that you go into bigger, better things. You guys understand, yes? So we talk about it. We're like, hey, you're a single failure point. If you leave, the business is in trouble, and the business has got to come first. You guys understand, yes? So there's a different level of transparency there that most people just don't go there. But you walk away, and you're like, shit, if that person leaves, we're fucked. But like, say it. You guys understand, yes? Cool. So next thing is sales in some way, shape, or form. And then another one is, for me, structure. Okay? So structure, so business structure, which I'm going to go through in a moment. Business structure. I'll give you another truth. I'm giving away some of my presentation this evening. But one of the truths is that everybody leaves. The other truth is that nobody's irreplaceable. Nobody. And the minute I think I'm irreplaceable, there's trouble. Nobody's irreplaceable, including us. Everyone say, everyone point to the person next to you and say, you need to fire yourself. You need to fire yourself. You need to make yourself irreplaceable. Cool. Cool. Dan Kennedy talks about the fluidity of relationships. Relationships are way more fluid than you may think. From team members in the room, are absolutely convinced the minute the feeling of I'm irreplaceable comes up in you, I think that's a challenge for you as a team member. Even for team members, you'll ask my team, I teach them all the time, the key to success is replace yourself. The key to success is to aggressively disseminate the knowledge. Aggressively disseminate the knowledge. And I'll talk quite unashamedly here about this stuff. The inability to aggressively disseminate the knowledge comes as a self-protection mechanism, and it'll catch up with you eventually. Because you can't be as good as the collective. You can't be as good as the collective. So eventually, it'll show up to you the bottleneck. And then you're like, oh shit! Now you've gone from the star to the problem. Eventually, because that'll happen. Because then your capacity is going to get so overwhelmed that the thing that's not happening in the business is you, and that you were good at it eventually. But because you haven't been training and disseminating the knowledge, you then become the blockage. And then your strength makes the team member or the leader in the business have to get you shifted to another seat or get rid of you, quite frankly, because now nobody else can grow. So we actually call in our business rock stars, block stars. So you know everyone's looking for the 200, 300 a week associate? We actually call them block stars. Because often they take over the whole running of the business a lot of the times, and often they will stop other people from coming in, and then you can't. I'd rather have like 3 or 4 people or 5 people seeing great numbers than one person absolutely ruling by like terror, if you will, that no one else can take over my space. You guys understand, yes? So while everyone else is looking for 300 a week chiropractors, I'm like, they'd be nice. They're nice to just stumble across, but they don't really come along, and often they're block stars, not rock stars. Make sense? Give someone a high five and say, does that make sense? By the way, hello, my block stars. All of you are block stars in an element of your business. You guys understand? Hello, my block stars. Cool. Next one is I call this PP. Oh, PP. So, no, I won't. So your personal philosophy or your professional philosophy, which forms the foundations to hold it all together, or what Blair calls your self-concept. Hey, Anna. So your self-concept in some way, shape, or form. So your self-concept is your self-ideals, how do you view yourself, a whole bunch of those things. Mac Newton, one of my greatest teachers that I've worked with, says that you will never outperform your self-concept. you will never outperform your self-concept, which is interesting, How do you feel about yourself? How do you know, your self-ideals, those things. You'll never outperform your self-concept. So sometimes some of you are going to be good enough at a lot of these things, okay? But sometimes coming to this group, the biggest thing you're going to get is how do I work on self-concept, how to work on a personal philosophy, and then professional philosophy. This is not my space. There are way more people in the room that are way more eloquent and qualified to teach about this. But chiropractic philosophy is the bedrock of how, I remember someone from stage saying this once. Who practices in Germany? Danny. Yeah, I heard him on stage once, and I love this line. He said, you'd have to be an idiot not to put two and two together, that the people that read those type of books succeed more than the people that don't. And you're an idiot. And I remember sitting in the audience, it's like, oh shit, yeah, he's right. Like they all read those books and they get the better results. Like you'd have to be an idiot not to put two and two and two. My opinions of it are irrelevant. Do you guys understand? Yes? They're irrelevant. By the way, as a side note, who is arguably the most famous chiropractor in the world? Dead or alive? Yeah, BJ. Hello? BJ Palmer, right? Who created the most content? BJ Palmer. Who wrote the most books? Just the only reason that BJ's legacy lives on like he does. How many books? How many books? I mean, talk about absolute machine content creator. We're going to talk about content in a moment. There's no surprise that his legacy lives on, is because his content. How many green books? I mean, how many are there? There must be like, I don't even know. I mean, I know I don't own them all, but there's how many? There's 40 green books. Unprintable now. I mean, the content is just insane that someone actually wrote all that stuff. And I want to think about your legacy when it comes from a business perspective. It's going to come off the back of some content.